Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 6, Requiem, released almost a week ago, and I'm getting to it now. The past two episodes have been somewhat delayed for my reviews, but the last couple episodes should be only like a day or two after, so that means that Episode 7 should be Wednesday or Thursday, and then for Episode 8, Wednesday or Thursday of that week, and then I'll have a review just going over my thoughts of the entire season. And then there will be the Punisher One Last Kill, like a week after that. And then sometime I should be doing a ranking of all of the Daredevil seasons. But let's just get into this one. So it starts off with Fisk in the hospital over Vanessa's dead body. He's just kind of like sitting there and crying, kind of just taking it in. And the doctor comes in and is giving him like this whole boatload of stuff. And he's just like, she's dead, but she's in a better place. And your love can never truly be ended because of like how much you guys like loved each other. And then he tries giving Fisk a hug. And Fisk just hugs him and starts cracking until he kills him. And then Buck just kind of like goes in after Fisk leaves to clean up the body. And it's kind of showing that Fisk doesn't really care anymore, because Fisk, even though he does kill people, like, and he's done it out of rage before, he's always been like, he's always put thought into it and like what's gonna happen. And this like was just like, he didn't care if anyone saw or anything. He just killed the guy. So it's kind of showing that he has like really nothing to lose. And I don't think he says a word during this. He might have said like one or two things during the scene, but I don't think Fisk did. I'm just saying, like, if I'm remembering correctly, Fisk didn't say anything until like the very end of the episode, and I really like that. But there is a chance that I might have just forgotten like him saying a couple words. But then you get Vanessa's funeral, and obviously like they're there, and the priest is giving his like speech, and while that's going on, you get some like cut-ins with Karen and Matt at their hideout over Dex, who's now chained to a he's like chained to like a little bed thing. And then you get Charles finding his guns missing. So it's kind of setting up like the big things happening in the episode. And it's nice to see Matthew Lillard back, because he's in episode 1. He's not in 2 and 3. He's in 4 a little bit, and he's not in 5. And so now he's in 6. I'm guessing he's probably going to be in 8, and then I'm guessing 7. So it's nice that we're going to have him for the rest of the season. But then you get Fisk kind of just putting a rose on Vanessa's grave. Not grave. I can't think of it. You know, the box she's in. I don't remember what it's called. I should, and I'll remember it like as soon as the video is done. But right now I can't remember that word. But he puts it on that, and he just leaves. You get the title sequence, and then you cut to a house. And then in the house, you see a little girl playing with like toys. Her mom comes up and like walks to her. Then you hear and see like some of the task force members, or at least bad guys. Not task force. I think they're CIA. But they get out. So you get this little action scene where you don't see much of it, but so the mom leaves the house, and you just hear fighting, and then as a grenade is thrown in, and the little girl picks it up and is like walking around the house like messing with it like it's a toy, and outside the house you just hear screaming, and then you get quick glimpses of like people getting slammed up against the glass and everything, and then as the bomb's like beeping faster, it's like beep 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 beep, the mom comes in, grabs it, turns it off, and you finally get Jessica Jones' return, and she's just like, this is not a toy. A lot of people are going to like it a lot more than I did. Not that I hated it. It's just that Jessica Jones is a character that I don't really care about. I've only seen her in The Defenders. I didn't watch her show because there's some things in it that I'm not going to watch. And then I don't know if she was in Luke Cage, but I haven't watched that either. So it's not as big of a return for me as like some other people. But it is nice seeing her again. Because like even in the Defender show, like she was a pretty fun part of it. So even though it's not like one of the best parts of it, like I think some people probably have it as, it's a pretty good part. But then you go to Matt and Karen and Angela, who's White Tiger. Her aunt is working on Dex, giving him staples and everything, and she's like, this might help him a little bit, but you need to get him to the hospital. And Matt's like, yeah, we can't do that or else he'll die. And Karen's like, well, maybe we should do that. And so that kind of starts off what they're dealing with the whole episode. And then Angela talks to Karen a little bit about some of the things happening in the city. And then her and her aunt leave. And that gets Karen and Matt talking. And they mention season 3, episode 10, where most of that episode is Karen's backstory. But then at the end, you get that little fight at the church between Dex and Matt where Father Lantom dies and then Dex almost kills Matt. And I just like how they kind of like bring that up. And then you get them talking about if they should or should not kill Dex. And Karen is just kind of like, we should. And Matt's like, yeah, I can't do that. And I can see where they're both coming from. I think that the way they do it in this is a lot better than some iterations of Batman, where Batman, it just like, he doesn't have like a very good reason about it, whereas Daredevil does. And something that I also think makes it a bit better is that there have been times where Daredevil has tried to kill people. Like in season 3, he really wanted to kill Fisk until the end. In Born Again season 1, like the first episode, he meant to kill Bullseye. So I think that's a bit of what makes it better is that even Matt has tried, whereas Batman, it's like you don't really ever see him do that. I mean, there is a couple of times, but for the most part, you don't. And then Karen, the only reason, like, sometimes I can't side with her fully is just I don't... And it's always been a problem throughout the show, is that I just don't like the way she's portrayed. I think that, like, she always looks like she's, like, close to, like, breaking into tears. And I get what they're going for, but at the same time, like, I'm not, like, the biggest fan of it. It doesn't ruin the show, obviously, because it's my favorite show of all time. And it's just that, like, that's something I have a problem with Karen about. But then they mention a contact, which I can only assume is Jessica, because Matt's like, okay, I'm going to go meet her. And they share this, like, little look at each other where Karen's like, Matt, and then they don't say anything, and he just walks off. And then you get a little... group of people for Vanessa where they're just kind of like they're paying their respects. And Fisk, again, he's not saying anything. Someone tries saying that they're sorry that she's dead, and he just like walks off. You get Sheila talking to the governor, and the governor's kind of like talking to her about being mayor, which is setting something up in season 3 probably. Buck talks to the assistant mayor, I believe. Not mayor, governor, assistant governor. And kind of trying to make that guy, like, become governor. Like, the way they were talking, it's almost like Buck was trying to push him into, like, taking the governor spot from her, the governor who's in control right now. Maybe have some dirt on the governor or something. And then you get Daniel and BB talking, where BB's like, happy birthday, and kind of setting up their little bit for the rest of the episode. And then Buck comes over and is like, I'm going to borrow Daniel for a second. And then they go and talk, and Buck brings up a, like, test where if you feed her, like, fake information, and then if it shows up anywhere, then we'll know who the mole is. And it's a pretty smart plan. And then as he's leaving, he's like, oh, happy birthday. Buck is awesome. And then you get a little scene with Charles calling Fisk. And again, I don't think he says anything in this, but just because like the way I'm remembering it, like he was quiet, but there is a chance he said something, and I'm just not remembering it right now. But Charles is just kind of calling him pissed off that Fisk stole all his weapons, and kind of showing that Fisk is kind of not thinking, not caring about what's going on. I mean, this is the CIA, and he's just the mayor of New York, and he's kind of blowing him off. So I'm excited to see what happens there. But then you get Matt and Jessica meeting, and first time you've seen them like on screen since the Defenders, but the way they're talking and everything, it's not the first time that they've met since then, and I really like that. I'm betting there will probably be some people who don't like that, but I do, because it's like the comics where you don't get every single story that happens with them, but I mean, from Daredevil Season 3 and Jessica Jones Season 3 to now Daredevil Born Again Season 2, like there was a bunch of stories that were going on with them that we just didn't get. So I'm happy that it's not like their first time meeting since the Defenders, because the audience would like that, because it would be their first time seeing them meet. But it's more so of like, they've already met again, because, I mean, they're superheroes in this world. They're not going to wait to see each other again for this many years just because the audience won't be able to see it. But she's kind of just saying how she's pissed that they came to her house with her daughter there. She calls her daughter Danielle, which I think kind of, because in the comics, her daughter is also a Danielle, and that daughter is Luke Cage's daughter as well. So that's probably where they're going with this, is that Luke Cage is the father, which would be cool, just kind of like having that comic book connection. It's just, again, it's not like something that I'm like, oh, that's really cool, because I didn't really care for Luke Cage either. So, yeah, but then she kind of talks about how she was doing some digging and everything, and this Mr. Charles guy, like, contacted her and tried getting her to join him and do missions, like a superpowered person, and she was just kind of like, go away. But people that she knows weren't like that, and they like kind of went with him. So I think that's kind of like Luke Cage might be doing that, where he's doing missions for the CIA, even if it's not exactly the best thing to do. And then they are obviously standing across from the building where Fisk took all those guns he stole. And this is where Jessica's like, do you want to cause a little trouble? I don't know why, but I like the line. I like the way she says it, just like sarcasm, but like dry. And it's just, I really like it. And then they break in, and it's kind of funny because Jessica Jones breaks in by throwing someone through the wall, and she enters like the Kool-Aid Man in the commercials where he just breaks through the wall, and then Matt just opens the door and walks inside. It's really funny, but there's a cool fight where it's like showing off both of their powers. Jessica Jones using her super strength and everything. Daredevil's obviously doing his like acrobatics and everything. Jessica Jones, obviously, like, it's not like she's trying to kill everyone, but if she kills someone, she doesn't care, and whereas Daredevil's like trying to save people while also beating the crap out of them. And then as soon as she gets to Powell, she's about to punch him, and I'm guessing that with her strength, his head would have broken apart and he would have died. Her powers fail, which they talked about in the like when her and Matt were talking like a couple minutes earlier, where ever since she had her kid, like her powers have been on and off, which I don't know how I feel about it. I don't really have an opinion on that, because obviously I haven't seen the Jessica Jones show, so I don't really know like her the extent of her powers and everything. But I think it's kind of a cool idea that like her powers are a little bit off and on, because that introduces like some like a way of her to like if she gets her own project or keeps showing up, then you'll never know what's going to happen, and it adds like just a little bit more to it. But at the same time, I really wish she would have taken that guy's head off. But then he like knocks her down, is about to kill her, and then Daredevil like bangs him across the head, and then they get out of there, and the whole place like blows up. I don't know if anyone did, but at least most of the people didn't die. It was just most of the guns and stuff got blown up. And then you go to a scene that really isn't my favorite. You get Heather in Vanessa and Fisk's bedroom, I'm pretty sure. And she's like looking at Vanessa jewelry and like takes an earring and just like puts it in her bag, so it's like stealing it. And then you get her like looking in the mirror, and the camera tilts. And then Buck shows up and is like, are you okay and everything, and she kind of starts talking to him about what Muse did to her, and he's like, show me. So they have this like really weird moment where like she starts choking him, and then like you can tell like she's kind of losing control, and then Buck kind of has to like get her off of him, and then he's like, do you feel better? And she just kind of leaves. It's a very weird scene to watch, but then it's also just like the acting, not from Buck, from I don't know her name, but the girl who plays Heather was kind of weird, because I get what they're going for, but she was like like breathing heavily, and it was just like extremely weird the way they were doing it. I want to talk about this at the end of this review, though, because I have a season 3 thing I want to talk about. But then you get Daniel and BB talking. They're at a, I'm pretty sure it was like a place where you go on a ferry, because they're going to go meet Daniel's mom, and she lives in Staten Island, so I think they're going to like get a boat over there. But Daniel like pulls her aside because she's like asking for a little information, and he feeds her the fake news, and he's like, Fisk isn't going to run for re-election. And I think it's kind of cool that well, yeah, I mean, it's a good scene, and what it leads to is pretty fun, but it's not like a big scene or anything. And then Powell gives Sanders a new card, and Sanders is the guy who in episode 3 kind of gave Daredevil and Karen information, because he's realizing that the task force and Fisk aren't like as good as he might have thought. So Powell gives him a new card, and that starts off like their little thing of the episode. Then you get a scene with Karen and Dex, where Dex wakes up, and he's like, hello, Karen. I love every time he says it. It's just the way Wilson Bethel says it is just really cool. And then Karen's like, hello, Benjamin. And then they have like a little talk, and he's like, are you gonna shoot me? And she's like, most probably. And he's like, okay. And he's kind of like trying to egg her on to do it. And as soon as she like cocks the thing, he's like, thank you. But then Matt shows up and throws his baton into her hand, and she misses the shot, and they start arguing. And she's like, what the heck is wrong with you? You keep like saving them over the people you love. And Matt the whole time is just like, what are you talking about? And she's trying to like talk to him about it. And then he's like, what happened to you? And she's like, I grew up. And it's like, I get where they're both coming from again, and it's like, I feel like they should both see where the other one is coming from. Like, Karen should see where Matt's coming from, because it's like, he's, like, that's it, like, he's Catholic, he, like, was raised like that, like, it's his viewpoint. And then Matt should also see where Karen's coming from, because he even tried killing Bullseye when Foggy died. He tried killing Fisk, and like, they both have good reasons to see where the other one is coming from, and I feel like they're a little bit too hot-headed towards each other. I would say Karen's a little bit more hot-headed towards Matt, because Matt sound like he doesn't raise his voice, he just sounds disappointed, whereas she's like screaming at him and like fully like pissed off at him. And it's always weird, just like the way they do it, but good. Weird but good. And then you get Powell and Sanders at City Hall, where they're kind of like trying to hold off some people with signs and everything. And Powell's like, you doing okay? And Sanders like, yeah, I'm good. Which, it's like the scenes that they get in this episode is just kind of setting up like what happens at the end, which I think what happens at the end is kind of cool. But just like the scenes themselves, like with them, it's like they don't last that long. And then you get Daniel and BB at his mom's house, so you get introduced to her, where she's trying to sell BB some stuff. I don't know exactly what it was, but it was like an invisible spectrum type thing, and Daniel, you could see, was kind of getting embarrassed by it. And then BB's like, hey, where's your bathroom? I gotta go. And Daniel's like, it's up there. So while she goes up to text Ellison the information, Daniel he snoops in her coat. And right before she sends it, she like sees Daniel's room, goes and looks in it, and she kind of just like is looking through it and realizes that I don't know exactly what she realizes, but I think it's supposed to be something like she realizes that Daniel's a little bit more like human than she thought, or she like opens her eyes and is like, even though I'm trying to take down this guy isn't necessarily like a bad guy, and I'm kind of hurting him. So she ends up deleting the information, so kind of without even knowing, saving her life. And then she goes back down as her Daniel's mom is singing happy birthday to him, and I don't know what it was, but Daniel's acting in this scene I thought was like, this was one of my favorite scenes that involved him, where he's just like looking at the cake, and like his mom and BB are like singing happy birthday, and he's just like kind of staring at the cake with like this dead-eyed stare, and then like he blows it out, and that was like my favorite moment of him. Even though I still don't like the character, I was just like, okay, just like his face in that, where he just looks like he just like looks like a lot more violent than he ever has. I like that. And then you get Charles visiting the governor, and he's kind of power playing. Like, he's got his shoes off, so he's in his socks, and then he's drinking a drink that he gave her last time he visited, and she's like, what are you here for? And he's like, I'm here to help you with your city hall problem. And then you get Daniel confronting BB with the little SIM card he found in her jacket, and she's just like, I can explain, and he's like, no, I'm done. I don't know what to do. I don't even know if I can protect you anymore. And she's like, from what? And then Buck calls, and he's like, from him. And oh, it's gonna be so cool seeing how they wrap up the season. And then I do hope that Daniel ends up biting the dust, just because I don't really like him. And then BB, if she also ends up biting the dust, I don't think both of them will, but if they both do, like, I want Daniel more so, but BB, like, I wouldn't care. I think that there's cool moments with her, and her storyline is fine, but the character itself is like, I don't really care. The only reason that I kind of want her to stay alive is because I did like Ben Urich in season 1, and it's just like, I don't exactly want another family member of his to die. But then you get Buck telling Fisk that the governor is like done, like she's pulling her like her support from him, and is just like done. And while that's going on outside, while this like rally thing is going on, Karen puts up the testimonies of the people that were locked up. She puts them like on City Hall's wall, and like they're saying their testimonies, and then they start saying their chant, which is resist, rebel. It's a fine slogan, but I feel like it just sounds weird. Where resist, rebel just sounds weird. Like, there should be a third thing, and I've seen it. It's like resist, rebel, rebuild. Like, you could at least say that, or just resist, or just rebel, or something. Like, resist, rebel just sounds extremely weird, like, by itself. But then you get Fisk, and he goes to his like bunker from the last season, where he had Adam held captive with the rabbit in the snowstorm and everything. And Matt shows up, and there's this really cool shot where Fisk is in his chair, and then the shadow of Matt, aka the devil, like, is on his face, and it's a comic book recreation. It looks really cool. But then they start talking, and Matt is just kind of like, this fight needs to end. We both know it's not about the city or anything. It's basically just between us, and we need to stop, because it's hurting like everyone and everything around us. And Fisk is like, well, what would it take? Well, Matt's like, what would it take for you? And then Fisk is like, yeah, well, same to you. What would it take for you? And Matt is just like, I leave and you leave. We're gone. And then he ends up mentioning Vanessa, because he's like, everyone that we know gets hurt. Foggy, Vanessa, and then Fisk is like, yeah, no, we're gonna fight. And like when Fisk like starts breathing heavy, he gets up and he grabs the chair he was sitting on to throw, and Matt's just like, and then he like starts dodging everything. And I really like this fight, just the way at the start, Matt is like dodging everything because Fisk is just like angry. It's one of my favorite scenes in Daredevil. Like the show, all the fights, everything. This is one of my favorite scenes. Is the fight between Matt and Fisk in this episode. But then you get Powell, and he kills Sanders. He gets a call from Buck, and he's like, "Thank you, Buck." And he's like, "I know it was you." And I guess that's a like Easter egg of The Godfather Part 2, because I guess there's a scene in that where someone's like, I know it was you, but I have not seen any Godfather film, so I don't know, but that's a recreation of that. And then as Matt and Fisk are fighting, Fisk gets a little bit of an upper hand because he grabs Matt's arm and like crushes it, and well, not crushes it, but he like squeezes it and it hurts. And then he throws Matt and breaks the rabbit in the snowstorm. He rips it, the corner gets ripped, and then the middle is ripped open, and just the look on Fisk's face, like he's like, now everything is gone of her. Like, even if I could somewhat repair this, like, it's not gonna be what it was. So like he gets extremely mad about that and just starts pounding Matt. Like his blood gets smeared on it, which is a nice parallel to the blood on this side from season 3. So now there's Daredevil's and Fisk's blood. And then like they just have this really cool fight where like you can see each of their strengths. Like Matt is doing more of like the acrobatics and everything. He's jumping around using his billy clubs, and Fisk is more just a powerhouse, and he's like punching. He punches a brick wall and he like breaks it, but then he's like so it hurts his hand. And then the way it ends is Matt does this cool thing where he recreates a comic cover. He like throws his batons around, catches them so it's like wrapped around Fisk's neck, and then he like jumps up and like breaks his knee against Fisk's face. And like it's a really awesome shot. I love that shot. And then Fisk is like, so what's gonna happen now? Are you gonna arrest me? You cannot. Are you gonna kill me? You will not. So Matt kind of just leaves. And right before I get to the last scene of the episode, that a little bit of that fight was in the trailers. And I thought that was going to be, like, a final fight, like, episode 8. Like, that's one of the final fights of the season. But it's in episode 6. So imagine what's going to be in the next couple episodes if that fight between them, the rematch, was in episode 6. I'm extremely excited for the next 2 episodes. And then the final little scene of the episode, Karen White Tiger and I don't know the guy's name, but the guy who slipped BB the SIM card in episode 4 are trying to get out of the rally, and then the guy gets hurt. Karen tells White Tiger to leave, and then through all the chaos as she's trying to help this guy, her wig gets ripped off, and Powell ends up showing up, and he's like, oh my god, it's Karen Page. So she kind of puts her hands up, and she's taken prisoner. And there has been a couple scenes in the trailers where like Karen's in prison and everything. And it looks like she's going to end up having a talk with Fisk. So that's going to be exciting. But that is Daredevil Born Again Season 2, Episode 6, Requiem. It was an amazing episode. Probably the best episode of the season. The only one I could say so far that might be better is Episode 4. I can't wait for the last 2 episodes. And real quick, I kind of wanted to talk about Heather a little bit because... spoilers for Daredevil Born Again Season 3. So if you don't want any spoilers or anything, click away. There have been a couple set photos from Season 3 that show that Heather will in fact end up being Lady Muse. So, even though the scenes with her haven't been my favorite, what I will say is that I think... now knowing that information, even though it's been leaked and it's not like it was only set photos, knowing that she will return as a version of Muse, I think I like her character a little bit more. I think that the scenes with her in the next 2 episodes are going to be a bit enhanced by that. And then when you rewatch this season, all the scenes with her will also be a little bit enhanced as well, just because knowing that she's going to end up becoming a version of Muse will make it worthwhile. And it will just be kind of cool to see a version of Muse return because I really like that villain. One thing I do wish stayed, and it was only in episode 1, it might have been in 2, I think it was only 1, was that like every time she was like spinning out of control, they showed Muse. It was obviously in her head and everything, but they showed him. I wish they kept that because it would have just been kind of cool just seeing Muse a little bit. And I do hope that Muse like returns one day, like the actual Muse from the comics. Maybe not the one from the show, but like the actual version of Muse. I hope he also returns in the show because that would be really cool. But that is what I have to say about episode 6. Sorry it took so long. I just had a couple things going on, but there's that. And then I am extremely excited to see episode 7 and then episode 8. So stay tuned for those. If you've seen the episodes, tell me what you thought. And I will see you in the next one.